Hey guys, today I want to talk about how I survived relationship Squid Games, part 1. Yay! So, anyways, to start it off, I want to quote one of my favorite authors of all time, Hunter S. Thompson, and he said, "Buy the ticket, take the ride," and yeah, I definitely did that over this past winter and fall when I decided to dive headfirst into what catapulted me into a dope-raged psychosis. And ultimately, what happened was I really, ultimately, I lost control of my emotions when I trusted the wrong people. I put my faith in terrible human beings, and for lack of a better word, I guess I just lost myself completely. I really betrayed myself, and that sucks. That feeling when you betray yourself, it's sad. It's sickening. It's very vulnerable. So as I'm telling this story, I'm almost getting goosebumps just talking about it because half of the things are unbelievable, and the parts that are believable are going to be definitely judged for, I guess, just the manner in which I handled situations, which is definitely partly my fault, but I think it's important to note that drugs turn you into a person that you don't want to be anymore, and they strip you of everything, really. You lose your soul in the process of crawling down that path, and yeah, definitely happened to me a few times. Becoming addicted to fentanyl was one of the craziest experiences I've ever been through in my life, and I've been through some heavy shit. Like, I'm talking about near-death experiences on the top of that list. I've been through, severe traumas, just your basic bullying in high school, and from there it kind of progressed into, a few sexual experiences that were traumatic for me. And yeah, the worst by far is the substance abuse trauma that I went through, because I lived through experiences with survivor's guilt where I lost people that could have been me. It should have been me, really. At the end of the day, it was humbling to experience the level and depth of addiction that I experienced. And I know it's not the same for everybody, but really what hit me in this last run was the truth that I was my own worst enemy, and that, yeah, I was actively participating in something that had a grip on me, such a grip on me and my soul, that I lost a part of myself in that process of becoming, somebody I'm not. So that was really hard to admit. We'll start there at the beginning. It was Halloween, and, I was excited about this Halloween. Honestly, I never get excited about holidays or things like that. I don't have a lot of friends. I really don't have, any friends. So for me to, go out there and be like, yeah, I'm going to meet new people at this new a we're starting up, it's a new experience for me as a sober person. I had quit alcohol. I was Cali sober at this time. You guys all know that story and how that goes. So, mind you, I'm doing so much pot, so much everything else but alcohol, basically, and dope, of course. But I'm smoking every day. I'm definitely still doing things that just aren't productive in recovery. So for all intents and purposes, I was not sober, and I had labeled myself as Cali sober for this time. And Halloween hit, and then I remember, approaching a friend at the group and saying, do you want to do something on Halloween? And I don't know, I'll call him Sid. So my friend Sid was like, yeah, bet, let's go out on Halloween and we'll have a great time, and lo and behold, that night, Halloween came around, and some girl in the program, she she brought in a few small, those little shooters of Ciroc bottles, and I knew from that moment that it was over. It was game over, basically, for me in my recovery. And that's all that had to happen. It was that instant. It was like, bam, it hit me, and it was over. I drank the bottles at the program, triggered a relapse, the worst relapse that I've had in years. Over the summer, I had been to a program, and I did a few months in a place that was like jail. I'll basically say it was jail. And I wasn't trying to get back on track with being a dope fiend because I've died before, and I know how dark and desperate I become in that addiction. So for me to, say that alcohol would have been the thing that would have brought me to my knees is really humbling, I guess, because, I didn't think that it was so, such a thing for me to go through, that it had to be alcohol. Like, of all the things that I could have done, the stupidest thing that I did this past fall was say yes under peer pressure. Like, I don't even know, like, how that happened. A recovery that was solid for, like, 3 to 4 months straight, then falls through the cracks just based on the opinions of people that don't even matter to me. Like, these are people that are on drug court. These are people that are there for DIFUS cases. They're forced to be at this facility, and I'm going here because I've almost died in the past. I did die and was brought back by Narcan, and, I'm fighting for my life here. So it took a toll. So Halloween comes around, and I started smoking Fent again. And honestly, it was one of the most horrific experiences I could have possibly put myself through. Honestly, when I think back on it, like, I thought I was so cool. I thought, like, nobody here gets high like me. And, like, honestly, maybe that was true. Like, nobody there could get high like me, because my runs up until this point had been 2 days. I could last 2 days on the streets with dope in my system, because one of two things would happen. I would either OD and die, be brought back, and be put right into that recycled system of psych ward institutions, jail or death. It was never jail, but it felt like jail. And death, for somebody who's seen death, looked death in the eyes, and been brought back to say, what's scarier than death is actually realizing that you're never going to come back from something like that traumatic. Like, you lose yourself, and that's sad. Honestly, it was the traumatic experience of just losing a piece of my soul, a part of my identity, to a substance that had killed friends of mine, knowing that it killed people that I loved, and knowing how destructive it could be and how just unmanageable it made my life in general. I still gave into it over time, and it was like a bad relationship, man. I'm telling you, like, I was in a relationship with this substance, and on Halloween, it was like being reunited with somebody like that I loved, and that was crazy, because the minute that it hit my system and it fired off these these neurochemicals, it was off to the races. It was like, wow, like, life really is a dream again. I really love everything about this feeling, and I don't have to hurt anymore. I don't have to hurt without, being in a headspace that's safe. And that's crazy, because if you have to go to a place where you rely on a chemical to feel safe, then there really is no hope. And I guess I was really in a hopeless space, I just want to say, the real tragedy in all of this wasn't that I relapsed and almost died again. Didn't happen that night, didn't happen right away, but the tragedy was that I really felt like I didn't care anymore about who I was becoming. And I didn't care that there was no future for me. There was no future, there was no past, there was no present. I was just a zombie. For all intents and purposes, I was living in a body that I didn't recognize anymore, and that was okay. That was really sad, and caused a lot of people a lot of pain. And people were enabling me at that point because of what they said helped them not to have to worry about dealing with me. These are the people in my life that supposedly, love me or care about me. No, they really don't, but they claim that they just they didn't know how to deal with me anymore. We'll leave it at that. They didn't know how to deal with me. I didn't know how to deal with myself. I didn't trust myself. How can I expect people to like me, let alone trust me? Like, I was not somebody you wanted to be around. It was absolutely destructive, self-destructive, and destructive to you. You didn't know if I was going to rob you blind, like, one day. Like, it could have just happened. You never know. Like, the kind of person that drugs turn you into, I mean, it's sick. It's like, desperation at its finest, and then manipulation at its finest, and all of these bad attributes that inherently exist in the human psyche just being blown out of proportion into an absolute volcano of just the perfect recipe for disaster occurring around you, and you are causing all of it, but you're in denial about it in that moment. So here I am, from Halloween night to the rest of the remaining season this year, till the end of the year, till this beginning of this year, smoking the foil every day, every day, every night. It was my best friend. Yeah, so what happens when you lose your best friend, what do you do without it? I mean, when I say I survived relationship Squid Games, this is what I mean. I survived a betrayal of myself, caused by myself. Nobody else put a gun to my head and said, you better go smoke this dope. No, I caused all this pain on myself. And truthfully, do I regret it? Yes and no. It's hard to be put in a position where, I look like a pretty normal person, I have normal aspirations. I'm pretty average. I'm average height, average weight. I've always been average. And see, that's the lie of abuse and addiction, that it takes you out of yourself. It deceives you in your perception of yourself to help you gain this false confidence, I'll call it. And that was the first thing that I fell in love with when I think about my past and the relationship to these drugs. Honestly, it doesn't start with dope. It starts with something as innocent as pot and alcohol. I'll say that what you think is good for you now, in 5 years, you'll look back and say, what the fuck was I thinking? What was I thinking? Why did I date that person? Why did I associate with X, Y, and Z? Why was I even, it'll freak you out to, look back and say, ugh, it's icky. Your history, you look back on some of the YouTube videos that you have liked, and even that, you'll look back and be ugh, why did I like that band? Why did I even associate myself with these kinds of hobbies and interests? It blows your mind. So, getting back on topic, I really became the worst version of myself that I could possibly be. And that scared me. So, yeah, for a pretty average looking person, I don't look like what people would consider a dope fiend. But there is a dope fiend inside of me. Honestly, there is a ruthless, I guess, just empty, cold-hearted criminal, because that's part of who I was, I was a criminal and doing illegal stuff, There is that person inside of me. To this day, I'm still trying to wrap my head around how I was raised in one of the best families that I could have been raised in, and there was no reason for me to turn to substances to, to get where I got, I have a degree now, but it doesn't mean shit to me. I mean, it's great, you know. I got my bachelor's and I feel so proud about it, but what I really care more about is the search for my identity after I lost track of who I was for a time, and drugs will do that to you. Let me tell you. Yeah, I mean, if you think that you can't sink lower, believe me, there's a next rock bottom for you to hit on this path, because it will lead you there. And they say never until it's happened to you. For real, somebody who said, I'd never do this, I'd never become that person. I became all the people that I hated in my active addiction. Not only that, it really became like a state of ignorance is bliss for me, because I was ignorant in the fact that I deceived myself, I tricked myself, my brain, into thinking everyone is in love with this person that I am when I'm high. So I'm going to keep doing it. When I couldn't even love myself. How am I going to expect anybody else to take me seriously, to love me for me, when I don't even like the person that I'm looking at in the mirror, when I have to wake up and take a substance in my body to feel comfortable in my own skin. Today, they say that your best days high are still worse than your worst day sober. And that's true. Honestly, I would rather be uncomfortable in my own skin. I'd rather be shaking in fear, my social anxiety, my OCD, my PTSD, whatever you want to call it. You know, when I'm online at Whole Foods and I got this racing panic feeling, you know, like, just fucking go already. Like, get out of my fucking way. Like, I'd rather have these feelings, these normal nuances of life, as, you know, annoying as it is. It sucks, you know, being anxious, not comfortable in your own skin. I'd rather feel these feelings and process them today, sober, than be on some kind of mind-numbing agent. Somebody I'm not. Because at the end of the day, I realized that you're going to be hated regardless of what you do by somebody or another. So you may as well be hated for being who you really are. And who you really are is never who you are high. That's the first thing to come to terms with, that I radically accepted. And not only that, I truly came to terms with inside of my personality, you know, the growth that I did personality-wise. I did a lot of personality work and a lot of rearranging of my psyche during this time when I got sober, because it took guts this time around to face the person I was looking at in the mirror. Honestly, life has never been better. Like, it's not perfect. I don't have the amazing car yet. I don't have my own apartment. I don't have these things that everybody says will come to you in time in sobriety, but I don't care, because I feel like I've been given the best gift that I ever could have wanted. And that, friends, is myself, the gift of me, being me again. Do you know what that's like? Like meeting an old friend that you haven't seen in years, saying, I love you, I see you. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like that, you know? It's pretty fucking awesome. And yeah, so this is just part one, and my coming out story of being a fentanyl addict, you know? Just wasn't part of my plan, but here we are. And, you know, it's a part of my story now, so I'm owning up to it, you know? The first step is acceptance. Acceptance is the first gift. It's a gift. It's not even a step. It's part of the process. You know, acceptance of a higher power and all this and that. But, you know, it's really the gift of yourself to yourself. Remember that. And yeah, I don't know. It's like a dream. It really is. It really is the best feeling in the world. I've never been so grateful to be me, because nobody else can be me, and nobody else can feel what I feel sober. The gift. is alive, you know? It's in you, and it's just waiting to blossom out into this new perspective, a new way of framing the reality that we've warped and twisted in our minds as addicts. You know, I used to think that, you know, when I became sober, everything would fall into place, and it hasn't. Not everything is perfect, and it's not supposed to be. But what is amazing is that I genuinely love the person that I'm becoming, and I'm proud of that person. I look in the mirror and I see a flawed masterpiece again. I don't see an empty canvas of, you know, just waiting to be shaped. It's already there. I'm already fully me, and I love that. So yeah.